About an hour away from downtown Nashville sits the largest concrete track in NASCAR. 1.3 mile tri-oval with a very different banking degrees at every part of the track will be a tough challenge for the Cup Series drivers here tonight. After the chaotic scenes of last year with a record 5 overtimes, let's hope tonight's performance doesn't include the countless encores. NASCAR and MDK RaceDay presents the NASCAR Cup Series from Nashville Superspeedway. It is the Cracker Barrel 400 here in Lebanon, Tennessee. And today's episode of MDK RaceDay is sponsored by GridRival. You are looking high above currently in the daytime, but like I said, tonight's race of the Cracker Barrel 400 will take place under the lights. Green flag scheduled for 7:19 p.m. Eastern Time on Prime, and it is absolutely going to be gorgeous but cool temperatures here in Tennessee. Temperature going to be in the high 50s, low 60s, but virtually no chance of rain in sight. Slight wind east-northeast through the racetrack at 4 miles an hour. Wind gusts just over 8 miles per hour. Absolutely gorgeous night it will be to go racing here in Tennessee. Welcome everyone back to episode of MDK Racing. My name is Jet. Hope you're having a wonderful day as we prepare. Once again, we're counting towards down the races in anticipation for the 2025 NASCAR playoffs as we make the return for the 5th time this year to Nashville Superspeedway. And yeah, that's right, we have a new partner joining the MDK family. GridRival will be jumping on board for this next few races. We're going to talk about them a little bit later on in the show, but this is a dedicated sports family page for all racing gearheads. F1, NASCAR, IndyCar. If it's got wheels, more than likely GridRival has got something on it. Gives the opportunity to make simple picks. Who do you think a driver is going to do better or worse in a race? Make your picks, and you have the opportunity to make some cold, hard cash while you're at it. So it's a nice way to watch racing, be a race fan, and you get to make some money on the side as well. Make sure you head over to their app and sign up on GridRival, and when you use code JET, you can be able to make a deposit and get a free $100 on top of your deposit right now that you can use to bet or do whatever you may please. So again, do not hesitate. Use code JET on the GridRival app when you sign up and start making your picks today. So let's jump into it with our news and notes. We got a few stories we're going to talk about here today. Joe Gibbs Racing announced a brand new sponsor, Kufandy, who has also been a sponsor on this show. They will be the primary sponsor for Christopher Bell in the fall race at Martinsville. The penultimate race of the NASCAR season and the final race of the round of 8 will sponsor the number 20 car for Joe Gibbs Racing, and has announced Christopher Bell as a global ambassador. They just had a commercial with Christopher Bell. That's really cool. And the paint scheme itself looks really, really cool. Again, like I said, Kufandy has been a previous sponsor on this show in the past, so obviously love to represent them and love to see them be more involved in NASCAR. Like I said, that paint scheme looking good, especially the roof of that car. I thought we were gonna get some Home Depot throwback vibes for a little bit there, but it's absolutely cool paint schemes. Nice to see Kufandy diving headfirst into the world of NASCAR, and hopefully this is the start of a great partnership between Kufandy and Joe Gibbs Racing, specifically Christopher Bell. Next we're going to talk about is Chris Buescher and the number 17 team. Now if you remember a few weeks ago, they were penalized. They were given an L1 penalty by NASCAR for violating or modifying the front bumper, the front nose bumper of the car, as well as the exhaust cover panel of the car. So where you see the flame shoot out on the race car, they were at least noted by NASCAR to have messed with those two things. Well, as a result, the number 17 team, they decided to appeal that decision, and they won partially. NASCAR determined that they were in violation of those two parts, the front bumper cover and the cover exhaust panel. Well, the panel, the Motorsports Appeals Panel Board, has said, actually, the number 17 team only violated one of those things. So the appeal board states that they did not violate the exhaust panel. They still did violate the front bumper cover. So as a result, their penalty has been slightly reduced. Instead of 60 championship driver and owner points that have been docked, it's now down to 30. They now only lose 5 playoff points, driver and owner points. And the crew chief has only now been suspended for 2 races, but the team still does have a $75,000 fine added onto that. But it does help Chris Buescher's situation because it went from what looked to be an almost race-winning scenario for him in order to make the playoffs. Now he's back in a position where he can still points race. And finally, this is just recent news. Denny Hamlin is having a great car here today, but there is a possibility that career start number 700 may not actually begin. That's because he's on baby watch. That's right. There is a very good chance that his baby boy will be born on the Ross Chastain's number. Yes, June 1st. So any Denny Hamlin fan hopes that does not happen, but there is a good chance that Denny Hamlin's baby boy will be born on Sunday. And Denny Hamlin has made it known that if his wife, or I believe his wife now, Jordan, does go into labor, Denny Hamlin will get out of the car and go be there to be there for the birth of his child. Now, NASCAR has said in the past that if a driver is not able to compete in a race or do anything like that because of they're there for the birth of their child, they will be excused for that. They will get a playoff waiver. Nothing will happen to them. Now, if it does happen, let's say Jordan does go into labor in that race window, well, then Ryan Truex will replace Denny Hamlin in that 11 ride. So there's going to be a spotlight on that 11 car this race here today. Now let's take a look at the point standings following the Coca-Cola 600. A massive shift in how the point standings as well as the playoff grid shook up after the 600. Kyle Larson entered the Coke 600 as a points leader. He now leaves minus 29. Even though William Byron did not win the race, he won 3 stages, so he earned 30 stage points on top of finishing in second. So he retakes the points lead now. Like I said, 29 points ahead of his teammate Kyle Larson. Christopher Bell stays in third, minus 74. Chase Elliott stays in fourth, minus 84. Reddick and Hamlin each jump up a spot to 5th and 6th. Blaney loses 2 with his crash, down to 7th. Chastain with his win now jumps back up to the top 8 in the 8th position, minus 149. Joe Logano stays in 9th, and Alex Bowman, he now falls 2 spots back to 10th place, minus 166. And with that, let's take a look at the playoff grid following the Coke 600. So William Byron, he gains now 3 playoff points, and now that he is now up to 11th, so 4th among the playoff grid drivers. But you see Ross Chastain, he's back in the top 10 in the regular season standings, but more importantly, his name colored in green will be a part of the NASCAR playoffs. Chase Elliott and Tyler Reddick, they're the 2 drivers that have about a 2 race gap. They can virtually play it safe these next 2 races here at Nashville and next week at Michigan. Ryan Blaney plus 89. Then you start getting into that 61 range gap. Alex Bowman plus 59. Chase Briscoe plus 40. Bubba Wallace, a couple races ago, he seemed to be pretty safe. Now he's in that danger zone, plus 38 now above the cut line. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. and Ryan Preece remain 15th and 16th. 10 points for Stenhouse, and now 6 points ahead of Chris Buescher, who takes over as the first driver out in the NASCAR playoffs. AJ Allmendinger minus 13, but we're going to talk about him in a little bit. He's going to have a big hill climb here today. Kyle Busch minus 14th falls to 19th in the standings, and Michael McDowell rounds up the top 20 in 20th place, minus 21. Busch, the official beer of NASCAR, proud sponsor of the Busch Light Polo Award, given to the fastest driver at each NASCAR Cup Series event. Busch Light congratulates Chase Briscoe for his 5th career Cup Series pole and his 158th Cup start, and it's his 3rd pole of 2025, and he goes 2 in a row here in Cup pole qualifying. Briscoe wins pole with the speed of 164.395 miles per hour. Since 2020, Busch Beer has invested more than $70 million in being a premier sponsor of the NASCAR Cup Series. So here's a look at the starting lineup for the 2025 Cracker Barrel 400 from the Nashville Super Speedway. Alongside Chase Briscoe is his teammate on Baby Watch, Denny Hamlin, in the 11 ride. Row 2 has William Byron and Tyler Reddick, who finished 3rd here last year. Row 3 is a 2023 Nashville winner and last week's Coke 600 champion. Ross Chastain starts alongside Brad Keselowski 2 weeks in a row, starting to build some momentum with that 6th team in the 6th position. Row 4 has Christopher Bell in the 20 ride. Alongside him is Michael McDowell, another great top 10 start for him in that 71 ride. And right at the top 10 is Joe Logano, the defending race winner in that god-awful long race at Nashville last year. Alongside him is Chris Buescher in the 17 ride. Row 6 has Chase Elliott, the number 9 Chevrolet. Alongside him is Bubba Wallace, the number 23 Toyota, trying to build back some momentum after what has been an awful few weeks for him and that team. Row 7 has Ricky Stenhouse Jr., the number 47. Alongside him is Eric Jones in the 43 ride. Row 8, a couple of blue ovals from the Penske duos of Ryan Blaney in the 12 ride and number 2 of Austin Cindric. Hopefully this time he is not the main headline for all the wrong reasons this year around in the 2 ride in the 16th position. Row 9 has AJ Allmendinger. However, he will not only start at the rear of the field, he will also have to do a stop and go penalty due to his team making unapproved adjustments to the splitter following pre-qualifying tech. So as a result, like I said, he will start at the back. His car chief has also been ejected. They lose their pit road selection, and also they will have to perform a stop and go penalty once they take the green flag. Alongside AJ Allmendinger is his buddy Justin Haley in the 7 ride, and round out the top 20 is Ryan Preece in the 60 ride and Josh Berry in the number 21 Ford. Row 11 has Austin Dillon in number 3 Toys for Tots Chevrolet. Alongside him is Ty Gibbs in the Interstate Batteries Toyota. Row 12 Shane Van Gisbergen. How about this? SVG 23rd. Hey, not too bad, making some progress. Alongside him is the number 48 Ally Chevrolet of Alex Bowman. Row 13 Kyle Busch, who took a spin here in the grass yesterday during his practice session. So alongside him is Carson Hocevar in the 77 Chevrolet. Row 14 has Zane Smith finish second here, his best finish in his first start in the Cup Series at Nashville last year. Starts alongside Kyle Larson, a shocking 28th qualifying position for him. He has won the inaugural race at Nashville back in 2021. Row 15 has Cole Custer, number 41 Ford. Alongside him is Noah Gregson in the 4 ride. Row 16 is Ty Dillon in the number 10 and Daniel Suarez in the 99. Row 17 has Corey Heim in the 67 Toyota, making his return to the Cup Series on a part-time schedule with 2311 Racing. Alongside him is Cody Ware in the 51. Row 18 has Todd Gillen. Alongside him is John Hunter Nemechek. Riley Herb's a rookie, starting alongside J.J. Yelin in the Fanatic Chevrolet for NY Racing, with Chad Fincham in the number 66 rounding out the 39 car lineup. Now let's get into better or worse. This is a new segment we're going to be doing with GridRival for these next few weeks. It is very simple. GridRival has this feature on their app where you get to make a pick on if you think a driver is going to do better or worse than the race position that they are given. Again, like I said, if you want to get started by making these picks on your own, make sure you download the app, sign up using the promo code JET, and anytime you make a deposit, you get $100 on top of it for free to use it for whatever you would like to use on the app. We're going to use 5 picks here today, so let's not waste any time and jump right into it. Let's start off with Denny Hamlin. Denny Hamlin, they're giving him a position of 3.5, so I'm going to make a guess on whether or not he's going to do better or worse. Now, I want to say better, but I feel like because it's Denny Hamlin, more than likely, his baby boy will be born on Ross Chastain's day, on that number 1, June 1st. So because of that, I feel like Denny Hamlin will have to leave the car. Ryan Truex will take over, and when that happens, he will fall down the running order. Technically, Denny Hamlin, since he started the race, will earn whatever points that Ryan Truex finishes the car in. So because of that, I have Denny Hamlin doing worse, below 3rd place. Next up is Kyle Larson. Kyle Larson sitting at a 5.5. He's a 2021 Nashville winner. However, this weekend has been weird with Kyle Larson. I know that Kyle Larson's the type of driver where he doesn't have weeks where he has bad races. He's able to have one bad race and then get right back to normal and start winning. However, they have him at 5th place. He has to do better or worse than a 5th place, 5.5. I just don't see Larson. I haven't seen the speed out of that 5 car this week. So because of that, I think he's also going to do worse than 5th place here today. Next up is his teammate, William Byron, at a 4.5. Now, unlike Kyle Larson, William Byron, I feel like him in that 2014, they have been building up some momentum these recent weeks, including almost winning the Coast 600 last Sunday. I feel like he's also had a great average record here at Nashville in the past. So because of that, they have him sitting at a 4th or 4.5. Position-wise, I think he's going to do better than that. Next up is Ryan Preece, 13.5. He's starting about mid-pack, but Ryan Preece has always been that type of driver where he doesn't start the best, but he's always found a way to manage to be able to get there at the end. No matter what it is, he finds a way to place himself in the right position at the right time. I'm going to go with long shot here. I think he's going to do better than 13th or 13.5. And the last one we're going to do is Carson Hocevar. So Carson Hocevar sitting at a 12.5. Again, last weekend at the Coast 600 had a fantastic car, had a shot to win the race before blowing an engine. However, he is starting pretty deep in the pack, I believe in 27th position. He's starting pretty far back in the field. If he was starting more up front, if I saw some more speed out of that 77 ride, I'd be more comfortable putting him at better. But because of that, 12.5, I feel like this is going to be one of those weeks where he's going to do a bit worse than that. I think he's going to be around the top 15, but I don't think he can do better than 13th, so I have him doing worse. And that's it. That's all you need to do. Again, if you want to try this out for yourself, head over to the GridRival app and make those picks on who you think, which drivers are going to be better or worse in today's race. And speaking of picks, it's time for you guys, the fans, to make the call. Again, pretty self-explanatory. Every week I post on my YouTube page. Give me your suggestions of what do you think is going to happen, who do you think is going to win, anything you got, let me know in that YouTube discussion down below. We got some suggestions, so let's go over. We got one from Twitter, and it is from the Brian Aguilar. Sorry if I mispronounced that name, but he says that Joey Logano wins back-to-back, but this time he actually dominates. Hamlin gets mad at someone during the race. Well, again, with Hamlin, that depends on what's happening with his baby, with the baby wash situation. As for Joey Logano, I would be shocked because he has shown virtually no speed this weekend, but then again, it is Joey Logano. I mean, somehow it always works out in Logano's favor. So you're probably right there, Brian. How about Dad760? He says, quote, a JGR driver will lead the most laps, but will lose to a Trackhouse or Hendrick driver. Hey, that's actually a very realistic thing. Joe Gibbs Racing has shown a lot of speed this weekend, not only Denny Hamlin, but also Chase Briscoe. They locked out the front row. We mentioned some of the other drivers. Like I said, William Byron has had fast speed here this weekend. Ross Chastain, the defendant who won here back in 2023, and last week's winner also has brought in a ton of speed. So that is a very strong chance that could happen here today. The Breda Bunch 58, he says, quote, instead of 5 overtimes, we have no overtimes, and Chastain wins 2 in a row. I pray that you're right. I do not want to see overtimes. In fact, that was a good portion of a lot of people in the comments that were talking about last year's race and the countless overtimes and how they said some were saying we're going to have also 4 to 5 overtimes or that we're going to have 0 overtimes. So I hope you're right about the no overtimes, but Chastain winning 2 in a row. Again, he has brought a fast car here today. That is a very strong chance. Too Fast For You 127, he says that there will be 4 overtimes, and this time Joey Logano will lose fuel, giving Denny Hamlin redemption from last year. Again, that all depends on what happens with Denny Hamlin's situation, but Hamlin also brought in speed, has had a fast car, so again, it won't be out of the blue. Will Simmons 7883, he says that I think Chase Elliott finally gets first win of the season. Chase Elliott has had, I don't want to say he hasn't had a fast car, but he's had an all-right car this weekend, at least from what I've seen in practice. He has won here back in 2022, so it's not like he's foreign to winning here at Nashville, but it'll be a tough climb. He's definitely been alongside with Alex Bowman. I felt like the quietest of the Hendrick bunch this weekend, but maybe, I don't know. It will be tough to see. I haven't seen much from that 9 ride, but again, if we have these countless overtimes, who knows? Maybe the Red Sea will part ways for NASCAR's most popular driver. Motorsports Fan 17, he says that here's something I thought of. Since this year's race at Nashville will be called the Cracker Barrel 400, it made me think of the last time that Cracker Barrel sponsored a cup race, and it was the infamous 2001 race, which was Kevin Harvick's first win. So could we see another first-time winner this weekend? That is actually that's a very, very good point. That's a deep dive. Yeah, the last time Cracker Barrel sponsored the NASCAR race was a 2001 race. Obviously, we know that was won by Kevin Harvick under just very emotional circumstances. Okay, let's take a look at the drivers that are trying to get their first win. You look at drivers like I mentioned, Carson Hocevar, possibly Zane Smith finished second here last year. You look at the other rookie, Riley Herbst. I know he's starting like what, third to last, but again, anything can happen in NASCAR. I look at Ryan Preece, I look at Ty Gibbs. There are some drivers, and again, if it's anything what we saw last year, I mean, again, I mentioned Zane Smith was 1 position away from getting his first win. It's not as crazy as some people may think. Motorsports fans, not that crazy. So I see the vision. I see it. JC1424 says I'm thinking either Tyler Reddick or Ryan Blaney will win this one. Again, a couple of other people were also saying that Ryan Blaney has a good shot to win this race. I'm not feeling it on Blaney, but I am feeling on Tyler Reddick. He has brought in a fast number 45 Toyota here this weekend. So Tyler Reddick, very good choice there. JC1424. We're gonna wrap it up with Kid Latin 27. He says Daniel Suarez is going to finally get that first win, and there will only be 2 overtimes. That's a very realistic opinion there. The second one, Daniel Suarez, again, I don't know. I just don't see it. I don't see it. Unless something wild happens. For 2 overtimes, I don't see that happening. If it was 5, I'd give it to you, but I don't know about 2. Okay, so what are the storylines for this race here tonight? Well, We do know what we saw in practice. We saw Kyle Busch and Josh Berry have moments coming out for turn number 4. Turn 3 and 4, very bumpy, very sketchy. That's going to be a very key spot in the race here tonight. I feel like it's going to catch a lot of drivers by surprise, especially on these restarts, because we have seen restarts at Nashville can get to 3, even 4. Why? You got to take advantage of it. This is more likely going to be a race all about track position, trying to stay in that clean air, stay ahead of the pack, get out of the danger zone, get out of the hornet's nest. So drivers are going to be taking much advantage of these restarts, but you got to be careful. Turns 3 and 4, that's going to be very sketchy. I feel like it could catch some drivers off guard. But what about the history? When we take a look at the history of the Nashville Super Speedway, at least for the Cup Series, this is the 5th time running. Since then, 2021 and 2024, 21, 22, and 23, they've been won by the Chevrolet Cam. 21 by Larson, a Chevy at HMS. 22 by Elliott, another Chevy at HMS. 23 was Chastain, a Chevrolet at Trackhouse. But last year was Logano, a Ford at Penske. But if we actually take a look at that race, if you're new to NASCAR and you do not know about last year was mainly dominated by the Toyotas. Christopher Bell, he won stage 1, stage 2, and led the most laps. It was Denny Hamlin who led 70 laps and Chastain who led 45 laps last year. Those were the two drivers that were gonna fight to the end, that were in contention to win until Austin Cindric spun with 2 laps to go and set us into that 5-time overtime run to the finish, which saw countless drivers lose fuel or run out of fuel, getting crashes, and a whole bunch of other stuff. So what are the drivers to look out for here today? Well, you have to look at Kyle Larson. Kyle Larson has finished in the top 10 in all 4 races, including having the best average finish of all drivers, especially since 2022 with a 5.7. In fact, his worst finish at Nashville is 8th. But again, like I said at the beginning, around the starting grid, he's starting deep in the field. In those 4 races, the 4 previous races, he started 7th or better. He's now starting outside the top 20. He wasn't all of that in practice. Will that have an effect in how he runs here tonight? Again, Larson is one of those drivers that you cannot really take what happens in practice at face value, because what happens in practice is a completely different story from Kyle Larson in race scenarios. So it's just something to keep a note of. It's not to say to completely disregard of Kyle Larson, but just to watch him if he can drive up through the field, if he has a car that is capable of doing that. Now, one group that I feel like that will be fast are the Toyotas. Like I mentioned, last year was dominated by Toyota drivers Christopher Bell and Denny Hamlin. And today is no different. At least this weekend, 3 of the top 5 fastest in practice were Toyotas. 4 of the top 7 drivers in the starting lineup are Toyotas, including first and second being Briscoe and teammate Denny Hamlin from Joe Gibbs Racing. Also, a common denominator is Hamlin's driver, Tyler Reddick from 2011 Racing. Reddick, starting in 4th, was fastest in practice and had the best 5 to 10 lap average, and he finished 3rd last year, and he needs a good run, really needs a good run, because him and that team have been off of it the last month and a half. The last 6 races, he has finished 14th or worse. The last time he finished inside the top 10, you have to go all the way back to Darlington. Around early May. So no, not even earlier than that. But yeah, it's been a long time since Tyler Reddick has shown any type of pace in that 45 ride, but he has brought a lot of speed today. Now, go back to his driver, Denny Hamlin. He also has brought in a ton of speed. Like I mentioned, Reddick was fastest in the 5 to 10 lap average. Well, Hamlin was 2nd fastest in practice, 2nd in the 5 to 10 lap average, and fastest in the 15 and 20 lap average. But of course, with Hamlin on baby watch, that will always throw in a wrench of things is if will he be able to finish this race, or will he have to get out of the car to be there in time for the birth of his baby? Again, that is something that will put Denny Hamlin in the spotlight, is if he can't finish this race, number 1, how good would he be before he has to get out of the car? Number 2, could Ryan Truex be able to get that car back to where it is up front? Ryan Truex is a Joe Gibbs Racing development driver, like a backup driver, and he has won a couple Xfinity Series races for Joe Gibbs Racing. So it's not like he's foreign to victory lane in NASCAR, but this is definitely going to be a very tall task for him if he has to take over that 11 ride. Not to mention also his teammate, Chase Briscoe. Now, Chase Briscoe in the Coke 600 last year, he finished inside the top 5, but didn't show really much pace in terms of that race winning speed speed. However, this weekend I feel it could be a different story. Not only did he qualify on pole, but he showed great speed in practice. So I have a feeling that 19 ride is more than just a fluke in terms of one lap speed. I feel like that Chase Briscoe is one of those drivers that could be a sleeper, could be a dark horse pick, and having a real good shot at having a strong run in this race here tonight. And a couple of other sleepers. You look at AJ Allmendinger, who I was going to pick as a driver that could potentially take home a top 5 or top 10, but he's a driver that'll be on the spotlight because of, like I said, with his team making adjustments to the splitter in after pre-qualifying tech. So like I said, starts at the rear. We'll have to do a drive-through penalty at the beginning of the race when they take the green flag. His crew chief has been ejected. They lose their pit selection. They're in a bad position. They're starting out way like everyone's here. Allmendinger's back here. So he has a lot of ground to make up. But a couple other drivers, sleepers, Chris Busch are also starting up front. He's having a really good run these last few weeks. Now he's got some momentum on his side, especially with that penalty that's been sort of overturned. So he can now go back into points racing mode. His teammate and his owner, Brad Keselowski, he has run well this weekend, ran great last weekend in the Coast 600, finally got a top 5 finish, something that he's been trying to get for all season long. Could this be, that race last Sunday, be the beginning of a whole momentum changer for Brad Keselowski? That will be interesting to see because he is in race winning situation. He is outside the top 25 in points, I believe. He needs to win if he wants to make the playoffs. So it'll be very interesting to see how daring of the moves that Brad Keselowski will make, how much on offense that number 6 team will be. And then, of course, you look at the Spire Motorsports drivers of Michael McDowell and Carson Hocevar. McDowell once again starting up in the top 10. Carson Hocevar almost won at Texas, had a really strong car there near the end. And Carson Hocevar, he's that driver that maybe could surprise some drivers. But anyways, I've been talking a lot. Let's finally get to look at what my Fantasy Live lineup looks like here tonight. So I do have Denny Hamlin. I'm taking that risk. I am betting that the baby boy is not due during the race window. But I'm taking that risk. Denny Hamlin. I will have Tyler Reddick, his driver. After that, then I got Chris Buescher, Ross Chastain, Carson Hocevar. I am going to pick Hocevar. I just have a feeling with that 77 driver. I have a feeling he's going to give me some points here today. And I do got Allmendinger. AJ Allmendinger. I do have him. I know it's a very difficult thing considering the situation he's in. But they have been very strong these last few weeks. Always up either inside the top 10, maybe even close to the top 5. I got the 16 of AJ Allmendinger in my garage. But the driver that I have winning this race, I think this driver is going to go back-to-back. He's going to be the first repeat winner at Nashville. It is driver of the number 1 Busch Light Chevrolet, Ross Chastain. Was 7th fastest, 7th in the 5-lap average, 3rd in the 10-lap average. He kept going, getting better and better, higher up on the practice chart, the longer we get into these longer green flag lap averages. So because of that, a lot of momentum on Ross's side. You give Ross an inch, he'll take a mile. You give him a little bit with that race car, he will do wonders with it. So I got Ross Chastain going back-to-back. I think he will win in Nashville. But what do you think of this race? I'm in the comment section down below. As always, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe for more content. Again, huge thank you to GridRival for sponsoring this episode. But until then, my name is Jed from MDK. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see y'all next time.